Hey there, my name's Ryan Dossey, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how a friend of mine who's a full-time dentist pulled a $15,000 wholesale fee out of just $1,687 worth of mail. Let's dive right in. I think one of the things that can be frustrating if you have any sort of like a platform where you share what you're doing with friends and family is you'll often have people that want to like pick your brain, but then don't ever really do anything with it. I've had a couple friends over the years that I've had to just be like, look, I've already told you what to do. You know the steps, but I can't take them for you. Like my wife and I have talked about this. I can't want them to succeed more than they want to succeed themselves, right? My buddy Tony is an example of kind of started out this way, but then moved the opposite of it. Known Tony for a long time. Great dude. Him and his wife are hilarious. I'll throw up their Instagram so you can go follow them. Somebody who's like actually in the field out doing this stuff. After kind of, a couple years of Tony and I chatting about what we do and how it works, finally he was like, all right, what do I got to do to like get started, right? So we did the same thing that you guys always see me recommend, which is Propstream niche lists into Ballpoint Marketing, Call Porter handling all of the inbound calls, and then all of the leads going into Resimpli and working them from there. It's nothing new. Chances are if you've seen my videos, you've seen us walk through this actual flow. I'm going to show you guys how to do it, as well as some feedback from Tony on what this was like, getting kind of his first campaign ever done. Now, few like disclaimers up front. Tony did get more help from me than I'm able to give you because he wanted to market in a city that's about an hour north of where I market. So instead of him like setting up his own brand, getting a Carrot site set up, setting up his own Call Porter accounts and all that, I was like, look, you pay for the marketing. We'll use my company. I'll pay to have your calls taken. You can use my Resimpli account. We'll add you as a user, but you're going to work all of your own leads, right? We'll give you feedback. We'll hold you accountable, but effectively, you pay for the marketing, use my systems. We'll split profits 50-50. So the list we ended up pulling, which I'll throw you guys into my laptop now and actually show you in Propstream. So the list that we actually pulled, if I hop over here into my property section, is the one named Tony K. There was right at like 1,400 records. We're actually remailing this a second time. We mailed it once back in December. We got this first deal done and paid in February. He wanted to remail it again now in March. So we're actually remailing this a second time now. He did end up just in that first pass, actually getting 3 properties under contract. One of them was the one I posted about of the deal we unfortunately had to back out of due to some just an awful inspection. And the second one is one that we haven't yet completed yet, which I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to talk about it here until the deal is closed. So this is the actual list in Propstream. I'll show you guys the area that we targeted for this. So it's a town called Kokomo. So it is about an hour, 45 minutes or so out of Indianapolis. So most of my marketing kind of ends down here. So we're close enough that we can still use kind of the same company brand and everything without it being weird. But, it was far enough away that I was comfortable like giving him half of the money that comes off of any of these because I'm not marketing to these. So what we went through and effectively did on filters here, we started with the properties that were not owner-occupied, meaning they're like absentee owned. I always add in an equity filter of 35 to 100%. You just put in 35 because you can't have more equity than 100%. So we always start with absentee with equity, but a couple things we want to make sure we do, go into property types and make sure we narrow it just to what we're looking for, right? I don't want somebody calling me on a dairy farm. I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. So then we're also going to hop down into ownership info, and I like to cap it at people who own a max of 3 properties when I'm talking about absentee owners. That tends to narrow out the more savvy individuals, your larger buy and hold guys, flippers, that kind of stuff. So went ahead and removed that, and we can see that's got us like 175 records, right? So I'd start there. One other thing I'd typically recommend you do, Under owner types, I wouldn't include corporate to start. They're just, in my experience, tend to be a little bit more savvy, a little bit more difficult to deal with if you're newer to this. So got 138 properties. We're starting with absentee with 3 properties or less. Then we're going to come in here and go into owner occupied. I've got dozens of videos up here on YouTube on how to like pull these individual lists, but we're just going to go through a couple of the basics real quick. So I might go through anybody that, for instance, has an active lien that's an owner occupant and add those. I might go through, for instance, anybody that has like an active bankruptcy and add those. Now, to add properties to a list, you're just clicking this drop down here and then clicking add to list and kind of naming what you want to call it, right? So we take that one list that's not really one list, it's actually like a couple dozen of these smaller lists. Check this box here to export it all out. Then we're going over to Ballpoint Marketing, and we sent the template mailers on these ones. Those are the ones that look like this. And my personal favorite style on these are these ones. One thing I'll throw out just while I've got this pulled up, I always do cursive. Print is more expensive and in our experience doesn't get a better response rate. The only reason it's even offered is because people were, quite frankly, begging for it. So that's why it's there. But to be blunt, every letter I've sent since like 2017 has all been done in cursive. So here's the lead actually in Resimpli, which is the CRM that we use. I'm not going to go through like all the notes because this took a while, but I do want to highlight a couple things because this one was a little weird. And in my experience, a lot of the properties we buy, it's not necessarily like a clean process. So this house, the lady that actually ended up selling it to us wasn't on title. She was buying the property through like a rent to own, a lease option, a land contract, something of that nature. So that was one piece of drama we had to figure out. Like, can this lady even afford to sell us this place? The second problem that we ended up running into, this place was pretty rough and she'd had the utilities off, like no heat, no power for months. So we didn't know if pipes were burst. We didn't know if the sewer was functional. We didn't know if there were electrical issues or anything like that. I'll kind of flip through these pictures real quick just so you guys can get an idea of how rough this place was. We buy some places that look really nice and they're really clean. And then there's some like this, that like, this is going to be a massive project for the person that undertakes it. This one actually is one of those ones where the rehab budget is actually more than what our purchase price would have been. So the property, we ended up getting it for $45,000. Now the guy's max offer on this was $40,000. So 75% minus repairs, which I'll show you the math here, had them at a max of $40,000, but that's building in an $8,000 wholesale fee. So in theory, they were still in like Burr territory, 75% minus repairs. They were good there, but minus the wholesale fee, they would have exceeded their MAO a little bit. So it does happen. This one was actually kind of like reverse wholesaled out, and one of our buyers came in at 60. So they were comfortable locking it up at 45 instead of 40. Now, like I mentioned, the place was pretty rough. So this was the actual place, pretty rough, pretty neglected. I mean, you can see like spray foaming around the floor, I'm assuming to try to help with like utility costs or something. Sheets hung over windows for like fake curtains, drywall issues, all kinds of stuff. Not actually pictured very well in these pictures was the largest collection of dog poop we've ever seen in the basement. It seems like somebody had like a mini kennel or something they ran out of the basement and they just like never cleaned it up. Pretty rough here in the kitchen. I think you guys are kind of getting the picture of this one. Was by no means a perfect property. I actually think that toilet seat is covered in carpet. If any of you guys want that, let me know and I'll see if we can get that back. By all means, not a pretty property, kind of a rough situation. They weren't living there. It was something they had been buying that they just weren't occupying anymore. So this is a good example of somebody who has a property that's not benefiting them. It's costing them money and they need to sell it, which is, what we do as real estate investors. It was also kind of weird in that it was in between a church and a funeral home. We were in the middle. So little bit of an odd duck as far as properties go, but this is what it was. Here she is. The other thing that was interesting on this particular deal was that in the garage, it had also looked like there was a fire that they claimed they had no knowledge of and weren't told about it and hadn't seen. So, you do run into those surprises where somebody tells you the property's perfect and that's not exactly what you end up uncovering. So on this particular campaign, my buddy Tony spent right at $1,680, give or take. We ended up wholesaling the property straight assignment for $15,000. So the net profit, or I should say gross on that, was $13,382. So we repaid him back the marketing costs. Him and I split that difference there. So right at $6,691 for him and for us. I paid for like call porter and that stuff out of my side. So I probably ended up netting, something like $6K. But for him to make $6,700 with a day job, I don't even know what that is, like percentage return, right? Like 4X, something like that. It's absolutely huge. One of the things that he really credited to making this all possible was having call porter involved. So if you're not familiar with call porter, they're my call center. They've taken every single inbound call that I've had come in for my company since 2016. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Tony's a dentist. He can't be like in the middle of fixing somebody's mouth and like take a call, right? So they were able to get into like motivation, equity, condition, why they want to sell, and then book an appointment for him based off the availability he'd set in his Google Calendar. So he was able to strictly run this nights and weekends. It's already pulled 2 deals out of like $1,700 in marketing. Definitely can't complain about that. If you are interested in Call Porter, you can go check them out. It's callporter.com. They do offer a full 30-day free trial. Everyone is based in the US. They're also now open 24/7, which is kind of a newer thing. So if you have phone calls coming in that you're letting go to voicemail or you're missing like while you're out with family or when you're at work, consider giving them a shot. So just a quick recap on today's video. We showed you how to pull the lists in Propstream, what piece of mail we sent them, who took the calls, and what it looked like analyzing the deal inside of the CRM. If you're like my buddy Tony and you're watching this video, you can choose to either A, copy it and see what results you get, like what Tony got, or you can do what some of my other friends have done and been like, oh wow, that's nice, maybe someday, keep going on with your day. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If so, all I'm gonna ask is that you like it and consider subscribing to the channel. Again, my name is Ryan Dossey. I'll talk to y'all next time.